first hand of vlog number 14, and it looks like royalty is coming to Texas Card House. So let's roll out the red carpet for the red pocket queens. That's right. And we are in the middle position. I decide after it limps to me to raise it up to $15, and LoJack is the only caller to come along. So we're going heads up to a flop, and the flop comes out 10, 5, 8 with 2 clubs. I decide to c-bet for $20. And the reason behind this is a pretty coordinated board, very wet board. A lot of open enders will definitely come along, such as your 9-7s, your Jack 9s, and especially if they're suited, if they have clubs, they're definitely going to be making this call. So after I lead out for $20, he folds. So that's a little unfortunate. We were hoping to get more action from royalty, such as the queens, but that does not seem to be the case in this hand. Oh well, on to the next hand. Next hand of note, we have pocket fours on the button. I'm looking forward to calling any decent raise. And sure enough, middle position decides to be the one to lead out, and he leads out for $8. Hijack, cutoff, myself, and the small blind decide to make the call. So we're going 5 ways to the flop, and the flop comes out 10, 8, 3 with 2 diamonds. A pretty dry flop here. Don't think our hand's going to be best, but when it checks around to us, we decide to check behind and get to see a free turn card. The turn is not very helpful at all. It's a 7 of clubs. With the 7 of clubs hitting the turn, the board is a lot more coordinated now, and it checks around again to me. I decide on a check as well. I'd like to hear from you guys. Comment down below. Let me know, do you think I should have let out here instead of checking? I look forward to reading those comments. We're pretty much done with this hand until the river comes out the 4 of diamonds. Pretty interesting card as the flush does get there. However, with the set and everyone still showing no interest in this hand when they check to me once again, I decided to lead out for $10, looking for a crying call here. And the guy to my left on the small blind decides to make the call. Everyone else folds, and I show my set. I say out loud, I got to get some kind of value out of my set. And he shows 2 pair with 10-3 offsuit. He hit 2 pair on the flop. Surprised he didn't lead out, but we scoop an interesting pot. This is a really weird hand, how everything went down, but glad we were on the good side of that. All right, on to the next hand. A couple of vlogs back, I talked about how I wanted to come up with an acronym that described an epic hand, a hand that was so great that I needed to really specify that this hand is going to be the hand of the vlog. So the acronym I decided to come up with is CHIP. Anytime you see the word CHIP and you hear this, you'll know that CHIP stands for crazy hand in play. So this hand is a CHIP. Moving along, we have 10-9 of diamonds in the button. Under the gun decides to raise it up to $12. Cutoff makes the call. I decide to make the call as well. Small blind and big blind decide on a fold. With the suited connector and in position, we're feeling pretty solid about this hand. We're just hoping to hit this flop. The flop comes out 5, queen, 7 of diamonds. That's right, we flop a flush. Now we can't get too excited here. We only have a 10 high flush, but we're feeling very confident about our hand. Under the gun decides to take the betting lead and c-bets for $25. The guy next to me, cutoff, decides to make the call. So this is pretty interesting. Even though we do flop the flush, possibly one of our opponents may have flopped the flush as well. However, I'm putting them more on a 1 diamond type hand. So we don't want them to catch that lucky turn card diamond. So we decide to charge them for the max and we raise it up. We 3-bet to $100. Under the gun tanks for a bit and decides to make the call, and the cutoff decides on a fold. So that's a little unfortunate, but we're going heads up to the turn, feeling pretty good about our hand. And the turn comes the 4 of spades. What a great card here. Definitely one of the better cards that we're hoping for. And he shoves all in for $60. I didn't know that's what he had behind, but obviously we're not going to fold here. I make the call. River is the 3 of clubs, and he confidently shows the pocket queens with a top set on the flop, and we show our flush and we scoop this massive pot. So as mentioned, this is a CHIP, crazy hand in play. We will be using this acronym in further vlogs going forward. Hope you'll enjoy that one. All right, on to the next hand. All right, next hand, we have pocket sixes in the middle position. Under the gun decides to be the first opponent to lead out, and he leads out for $10. For me, this is an easy call. Looking for an opportunity to set mine, play this hand a little deceptively, post flop, and small blind and big blind make the call. So we're off to the races 5 ways, and the flop comes out Jack 8-3 with 2 diamonds. So we don't hit this flop in any way. Small blind decides to go with aggression here, and he leads out for $30. Folds to the under the gun opponent, and he makes the call. So we think for a bit, thinking that maybe we have a good price here to make the call, but we decide to fold here and pick a better spot later on. All right, on to the next hand. All right, we have Queen Jack offsuit in the under the gun position. I raise it up to $9. Hijack, small blind, and big blind are the only callers. So we're gonna go 4 ways to the flop, and the flop comes out 7-5-3 rainbow. So pretty much all we have are 2 overcards. As long as it checks to us, we'll feel pretty confident about our hand and maybe take a stab at it. However, small blind has other plans, and he leads out for $30. Quite a big bet to lead out here in the small blind position. So most likely he has better overcards than we do, or maybe he hit a set. But if he hit a set, I don't think he's going to be leading out so strong. So I put him on most likely a gut shot type of hand, and I decided to fold here. Hijack is the only caller, and they end up going heads up to the turn. Turn comes out a 4 of hearts, so now the board's even more coordinated. It goes check, check. The river is a blank 2. I don't remember what the suit was. Small blind decides to lead out here again for $30, and the other guy ends up making the call. Small blind shows pocket 10s, and hijack shows 7-5 of hearts for the flop 2 pair. So he ends up scooping this pot with flop 2 pair. So I guess maybe I should have bet a little larger on pre-flop to push out hands such as 7-5, but I don't see pocket 10s getting away from it either. Inevitably, pocket 10s would have won. So that's the way it is here at Texas Card House. Okay, on to the next hand. All right, next hand of note, and just a little background on this particular opponent that we're going up against. We'll refer to him as the game changer. He just recently joined the table. He's been on the table for about 30 to 40 minutes, I would say. And since he sat down, he has been making some really questionable plays and some really questionable raises and calls with interesting hands. I can tell that a lot of the opponents at the table are a little afraid of him, afraid to get in the mix with him, because he does play a very wide range. In this hand, we have ace-6 of clubs in middle position, limps all the way to the small blind, who decides to raise it up to $15. And I am the only caller, so we're gonna go heads up to a flop. The flop comes out 9-6-3 with 2 clubs, so very good board for us. We have middle pair and also a draw to the nut flush. Game changer decides to lead out for $20, and obviously tons of equity here on this board, and there are a lot of turn cards that can really improve our hand. So I decide to easily make the call. We're gonna go ahead and evaluate that turn, hopefully to improve, which we did not. The turn comes the jack of diamonds. He decides to lead out for $35. Now I tank here. I'm thinking about all my outs that I have. I'm thinking about the odds that I'm getting here to hit my card. There are a lot of cards, any 6, an ace, any club, I'm sure will really improve our hand. So I'm putting my opponent on some kind of a pair. I think maybe he had a 9, or maybe he has, pocket 10s, maybe even pocket 8s. So we decide to make the call. River does not help us at all. It is the 8 of hearts. So flush draw breaks out. We don't really improve to a 2-pair type combination hand. We're pretty much done with his hand. Our opponent decides on a check. Pretty interesting, as he's shown aggression throughout the entirety of the streets, beginning with pre-flop, flop, and then turn. However, I don't really have much except for the second lowest pair, and I'm really not trying to bluff off here because I'm pretty sure this guy's going to call anyways. So I simply just take my check. I want to see what he has, and he shows pocket 8. So he cashes his set on the river. but he pretty much had us dominated. Even though we had tons of outs, tons of equity, we just couldn't get there. Kind of sucks, but that's the way it is sometimes. Okay, on to the next hand. Final hand of the vlog, and once again we are going up against our nemesis, the game changer. I have ace king offsuit in middle position, and I decide to raise it up to $20. I choose that particular raise size because if I make it anywhere from $12 to $15, you're gonna get a lot of callers. So with $20, I tend to narrow the field down to one or maybe two opponents to come along. Sure enough, folds all the way to small blind, who makes the call, and under the gun one, who happens to be the game changer, makes the call as well. So we're going three ways to a flop, hoping for a good board. The flop comes out 5-5-7 with two hearts. So not really a good board for us. However, we still got two overcards. Small blind decides to check. Under the gun one, game changer here, decides to lead out for $20. I make the call. No reason for me to raise or to fold here just yet. We can easily improve on the turn. However, small blind has other plans in mind. He decides to shove all in for his remaining stack of $200. If I remember correctly, right now there's about $100 in the pot, and he shoves for $200, a 2 times pot size shove. Anyways, this is interesting. And game changer decides on a pretty quick call. So there's no way I'm good here. I just don't understand how these opponents wouldn't raise pre-flop if they had such a good hand after I lead out for $20. So I decide on a fold. I'm pretty confused here. I do remember writing down the notes of the hand run out, and the turn came the jack of spades. River was a 3 of clubs, so we wouldn't have improved if we made the call. Small blind shows ace queen offsuit, so we did have small blind beat, and game changer shows 9-7 of spades. So he won with a pair of sevens and scoops a pretty sizable pot. I couldn't believe it, and I have some interesting words written down in my notes, but I'm not going to repeat them. Yep, game changer scoops a pretty good pot, and he's very proud of himself. Shortly after this, the table pretty much broke. I think he pissed off a lot of people at the table. We ended up getting down to about 4-handed, and because the 5th-handed opponent decided to go take a smoke break for an hour. So I pretty much rack up my chips, head to the cage, cash out, and leave a winner. Let's call it a night. Alrighty, so just finished the session here at Texas Car House, and it was a fun session. We actually decided to sign up for the monthly membership, but we bought in the game for $300. At our high point, we had about 246 in our stack, and we chipped down a bit. Lost a nasty hand with ace-6 of clubs. We flopped the nut flush draw and just couldn't catch up on the turn of the river. Chipped us down a little bit, won a little bit back, but not by much. So we ended up cashing out for $449, so it was a profit of $149. So not too bad. Played less than 3 hours, about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So not too bad. Anyways, if you like what you see here, guys, please comment down below, like, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. All right, have a good night, everyone. Bearded Poker out.